On the 24th of September 2020, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund inaugurated its Standing Committee on Research and Development. This was a major step in the paradigm shift of the interventionist agency, which elevates research for development to be at par with infrastructure development. The reasoning for this significant step is the realization that a country cannot develop without making the appropriate investment in knowledge and content within its tertiary institutions that would convert them into a vital tool for innovation, feeding industry by improving products and services.
I am a believer in the gospel as preached by our President and Commander-in-Chief, President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, that research and our continued investment in it will herald a rebirth of a Nigeria that works for all of us. It is a recognition of this direction that the Executive Secretary at TETFund presented his vision for a research-driven nation. It is possible that we may stay as big as we are and be good for nothing. But it's also possible that we'll be big and challenge ourselves to do more. This is the invitation that Professor Obogoro has laid out in the excellently worded document he has presented us this morning.
To achieve this goal, TETFund applies the triple helix method, which creates a close bond between government, the academia, and industry. The Standing Committee, or RDSC, as it's known for short, is made up of men and women of pedigree, drawn from all critical sectors of the academics and the economy.
Overall, the academics are in the majority. But I can't remember in recent time a collection of academia and industry that has some of the very best, including chief executives of some of the most profound research institutes that are supposed to define and represent the future of our country in the context of knowledge economy in the 21st century. I want to acknowledge all of you. The great job you've done is deeply appreciated.
5 months after the inauguration, the RDSC had carried out extensive work by closely examining 13 thematic areas, which form a foundation upon which our economic revolution can be built. The thematic areas reflect the objectives of the Sustainable Development Goals set by the World Bank.
These 13 sector-based thematic areas include agriculture, that includes, of course, climate change, food security, food science and technology, etc. Environment and biosciences. 3, medicine, One Health, in other words, human, farm animal, wildlife health, etc. 4, pharmaceuticals. 5, ICT digital economy. 6, petroleum fossil resources, solid minerals and mining. 7, industrialization, manufacturing, trade and investment economy. 8, engineering, technology and mineral science development, infrastructure development, education, energy, governance, social development and internal security. Finally, not the least, defense and the military.
In February 2021, TETFund convened a 4-day meeting to receive feedback from the RDSC, which is also tasked with working to evolve a research and development foundation. The event was kicked off with a welcome address by TETFund's Director for Research and Development and Centers of Excellence, Dr. Saliu Bakari Gire.
My Executive Secretary, sir, since the inauguration of this committee till date, every day we are getting closer to the realization of your dream for a knowledge economy through R&D Standing Committee. Investment in content is the key to realization of true universities, polytechnics and colleges of education that can compete favorably anywhere in the world. And since your return, you have been investing heavily in libraries, investment in research, IBR, investments in applied research, as well as investments in centers of excellence. All these put together will ultimately lead to the realization of the dream of Nigeria that you do have, that Nigeria has the potential to be a knowledge-based economy that can compete favorably with any other country in the world.
In his keynote address, the Executive Secretary of TETFund, Professor Suleiman Elias Bogoro, gave a recap of the journey so far and reeled out some key achievements.
At the inauguration of the committee back on 24th September, you will recall my excitement at the caliber, proficiency, wealth of experience, and depth of expertise in the membership of RDSC. You may also recall the exhortation I gave you to embrace this national challenge wholeheartedly in the service of our fatherland. The overarching purpose of this meeting, as it were, are the validation and adoption of reports from the 13 thematic groups. 2. The verification and endorsement of the National R&D Foundation, NRDF for short. There's no gainsaying. My passion for research and innovation is anchored on my abiding conviction that the technological and socio-economic advancement of Nigeria would continue to be as elusive as a mirage as long as we continue to pay lip service to R&D. This is one reason why we should all count us privileged to find ourselves here at this epochal moment in the history of our dear country, at a time when our alignment of the critical factors of President Muhammadu Buhari, the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu's commitment, the support of the TETFund Board of Trustees, as well as synergy with the tertiary educational institution policy stakeholders and regulators, have resulted in the elevation of R&D and innovation to the top of national discourse. Many of you here will be keenly aware of a recurring theme in my speeches, keynote addresses, views, and interviews over the years. At every opportunity at different fora, I've tried to leave no one in doubt as to how dear to my heart the burning issue of R&D and innovation is. It is for that reason that I once again proclaim this universal doctrine, one that has since generated ardent adherents in the world's most successful knowledge economies, that there is but one true path to socio-economic and technological advancement, which is R&D. And this committee will go a long way in facilitating the attainment of some of our most critical national aspirations. Let me assure you that I will continue to champion this cause for as long as I draw breath. Working towards the establishment of a National R&D Foundation, NRDF for short, for Nigeria stems from a recognition of the vital role such an institution would play in the realization of our national development objectives. I dare say, the importance of such an institution cannot be overemphasized. Having a foundation established by law with a policy instrument and clear mandate to coordinate, oversee, and most importantly, secure funding for R&D and innovation activities in the country would lay the foundation as well as define the trajectory, not just for the transformation of our beleaguered tertiary educational institutions from mere citadels of learning, where inputs and outputs have left much to be desired for far too long, but crucially, to the springboard of Nigeria's leap into the knowledge economy paradigm, in keeping with the established tradition that ivory towers are the bastion of intellectualism and the breeding ground for creativity, original thinking, and innovation that shape and define civilizations and also drive economies and development. It is in recognition of this that President Muhammadu Buhari has made quality education through science, technology, and innovation one of the pillars of the next level of the APC-led federal government. Precisely why Mr. President last year told the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, to instruct TETFund to support the federal government initiative of responding to COVID-19 threat through groundbreaking research for phytomedical drugs, prophylactics, PPE, and eventually vaccines. I am pleased to inform you that TETFund has gone far in implementing the President's directives, and soon the results will be announced. Similarly, TETFund has also commenced funding of defense and security R&D towards responding to the unfortunate insecurity challenges and insurgency in the country, towards making Nigeria self-sufficient in locally produced technology for our armed forces and other security agencies. It always gladdens my heart to recall how, upon assumption of duty as ES back in April 2014, I presented a 5-year strategic plan proposing the establishment of a new department to drive R&D along with centers of excellence in our tertiary educational institutions as funded by TETFund. My expectation at that time was that the centers of excellence would ultimately partner with research institutes. When the TETFund BOT, Board of Trustees, approved the creation of the Department of R&D and Centers of Excellence as part of the new 6-point vision of mine for the organization, it conveyed the strong resolve of the BOT to pair Centers of Excellence with R&D as an indispensable component of the latter.
The chairman of the RDSC, Emeritus Professor Njida Gadzama, while appreciating TETFund for the support he received, also outlined some fruits that the committee's efforts have already yielded. In January 2021, history was made as Nigeria's prime auto company, Innoson Motors, signed an agreement with the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure to convert Naseni's research results into commercial products. Naseni will work to perpetually improve Innoson's technology.
Naseni and Innoson Motors, they have signed OAU. This is the heart of R&D. Congratulations. And the visits, we have clapped for the visits. But if you read the report, you will be happy to feel the impact of this visit. This is the most important activity we have had so far. We hope others will add. But many of the visits that we had before, as enlightenment for this, actually, ES, we need to report that more. Because the visit to the National Security Officer of this country,
NSA.
The NSA, the visit to the military setups, Minister of Defense particularly. Yeah, those are wonderful.
The deputy chairman of the RDSC and president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Engineer Mansur Ahmed, made a presentation underscoring the importance of R&D to any country that intends to be self-reliant and prosperous.
Over the past maybe 3 months, other countries are deliberating and discussing how to distribute vaccines to their people. And the Americans are complaining that despite the fact that they have distributed over 20 million doses, it's still not enough, and it has been. The Europeans are threatening to stop the export of vaccines to other countries. Indians, I think, have banned the export of this country. The Chinese have been distributing vaccines for a long time, and indeed are promising to export vaccine to Africa. In Africa, we are waiting. And the difference why these people are talking about distribution and we are waiting to receive supplies is the fact that has been highlighted, that they have moved into a state in their countries where knowledge and science and technology and innovation drives the progress of society and drives development. And until and unless we move our country into that status, the future may be very bleak. I don't think any initiative that could have been brought in at this time would have been as critical as what we are now trying to do. Defining a framework whereby we could leapfrog into a science, technology, and innovation-based economy driven by knowledge and research and development in search of more knowledge.
Even when the best ideas are generated, without cooperation between institutions and sectors, they simply cannot be effectively implemented. Strong networking provides a range of benefits, including learning, sources of information, faster growth, innovation, and a means of getting things done. Research shows that people who collaborate are able to access information that helps them to generate better ideas. The Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group clearly lays out this argument.
I'm involved in an assignment that we're currently doing about Nigeria 2050. We're looking at a long-term view for Nigeria, and we're currently working on even the medium-term development plan. And one thing that has come to fore each time we discuss is how can we leverage research and innovation to solve the problem of Nigeria? There is no way we can lift people out of poverty. I mean, the number we're looking at, there's no way we can provide job for 100 million Nigerians if we're going to do business as usual. Every work we do, we need to look at how do we leverage technology. And that's why I believe that the work that you're doing here, sir, is very commendable. But what I always do plead is the fact that there must be significant handshake across what we're doing in government level. One thing you find out is that there are a number of work that's been done by different groups. But one challenge is that we do not speak to each other. So people speak in silos. Because I'm a part of the infrastructure automatic group, and I've been privileged to read through all the work that's been done through the portal of TETFund, I know that there's a lot of work in here that if members of the steering committee and the Central Working Committee of Nigeria 2050 can look at, it will work tremendously rather than reinventing the wheel. So one of the things I want to leave you, sir, is the more we begin to talk with each other, the better. We need those things at now.
If Nigeria plays its cards right, it could become Africa's first global superpower. It already has the continent's biggest economy, a huge military budget, and a fair record of regional engagement. By 2040, it will also be the fourth largest country in the world after India, China, and the United States. New research by the Institute for Security Studies shows that out of Africa's big five powerful countries, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, and Ethiopia, Nigeria is the African country with by far the greatest capabilities to play a global role. The NESG boss agrees.
I am very, very committed to the triple helix model, where there's significant handshake between those in academia and those of us in the private sector. Because more often than not, we just are wasting resources. There are brilliant people in the universities that we can use in the public, in the private sector, and there are challenges in the private sector that the university can speak to. But unfortunately, because again there is no coordination effectively, there is no harnessing all of these opportunities, we either waste time or duplicate energy. I believe that some of the effort that we're doing here will speak to each of those things. Because again, like I said, I was in infrastructure and I knew a couple of things we did around what would the private require, how do we interface between them. So I look forward to the work that has been done. I'm particularly looking forward to when we can then begin to operationalize it. And what I've always appealed against, I want you to use your office at least to let us have a mind shift. I mean, I always tell people, oh, this is the way we've done it before. Who says it must continue that same way? Why don't you begin to look at new ways of doing things, and so that we can look for the potential for Nigeria to rule the world is very, very there. But it's always remained a potential. How do we begin to walk the walk and begin to actualize it? So I want to commend the work that's been done so far.
The RDSC is clear about its objectives and goals. The committee thoroughly understands the task ahead and has designed a roadmap while structuring a strategic approach for the establishment of the Research and Development Foundation.
I mentioned the first technical report because it's an aggregation of ideas from all these people that are actually looking at triple helix as the fulcrum for building a new Nigeria. So we have the private sector. And immediately after that, we said, okay, this particular report we have done in the room must be validated. In the validation process, we said we need to go on feed. Many people might not realize that it's a research methodology for you to go on feed inspection. So, and what everybody has done in RDSC, by categorizing ourselves into nothing less than 39 groups, moving across the country, is actually to conduct the first research for the Research and Development Foundation. So either people see it that way or not, but that is where we leverage data. Because if we have not gone there, we will not know what is going on the feed. So the second report that we have was the product of that particular engagement. We have about 390 institutions visited within 3 weeks, and we have about 39 different teams that have moved across the country, covering more than 2/3 of the state of the Federation, where we know the R&D resides. We are going to be having the first draft of the document that will call 1.0 of the compendium of the landscaping of R&D in this country. We are not talking about data that are going to be mined from other sources. We are talking about real data that are going to be a reference point for some of our reconnaissance survey that we are going to do going forward and come up with some mine data to actually predict some of the analytics that we support this particular drive.
For Nigeria to benefit from the proceeds of research for development, it will require a persistent, long-term focus on quality, innovation, and continuous improvement of the triple helix model. As part of this, the people, the organizations, management, and funding systems in the tertiary sector need to stimulate, to facilitate, to demand, and to celebrate the highest standard of excellence in research.
People have been talking about teaching, and it is only when people are not teaching, that's when the university closes. However, what happens to the research component and the community development? You cannot improve on the content of what you are teaching for over a decade if you are not doing research, because the research, I usually centralize it within the pillar of the tripod. On this side is teaching, on the other side is community development. You can't develop the community if you don't have new ideas for them to live their life better. So that is what Professor Bogoro is communicating to the academia community, both locally and internationally, that we recognize that these three pillars must be working together for you to be a complete academia.
At the TETFund RDSC meeting, Professor Bogoro also took some time to honor the committee members who passed away during the period of this national assignment. He had inspiring words for the loved ones that they left behind.
It's recalled that, very sadly, we lost one of the three vice chairmen. It's a victim of COVID, very sadly. And I'm sure you're also aware that we have lost actually 3 others besides him. Chairman and vice chairman of a particular group. We lost them. The vice chairman earlier, the director general, Nips Kuru, very sadly, my friend, Professor Habu Galadima. And a few weeks after, we lost his chairman, former vice chancellor, UNILAC, former vice chancellor, Alike, Ndufo Alike, pro-chancellor, First Technical University, Ibadan, Professor Ibidapo Obe. A few days, barely a week or thereabout, 1.5 weeks between, we lost Professor Odekule, one of the 3 vice chairmen, former member PACAC, Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption. It's a sad one.
The government of President Muhammadu Buhari is creating strong infrastructure and providing resources required to ensure that Nigeria grows sustainably and participates on the international scene. A strong tertiary sector and well-developed research infrastructure are just the entry stakes. We are living in ever-changing times where economic competitiveness and sustainability are concerned. Nigeria needs to constantly innovate to reach our national goals. We must not only learn how to learn better, but we must apply what we know in new ways. The basis of any knowledge society is constant innovation and new discoveries. And that is the paradigm shift.